The most iconic moment in Jaws happens 1 hour and 21 minutes into a 2-hour movie. The shark, you remember? It's on screen for 4 minutes total. 4. But that single reveal, Roy Scheider backing into the cabin, the line everyone quotes, has lived in the cultural memory for 50 years. Today, I want to break down exactly why it works as well as it does. But first, for those who haven't seen Jaws in a while, let's add some context. Because besides being a flawless piece of staging, this scene is the payoff to thematic groundwork Spielberg has been laying from the very first frame. And understanding that groundwork is what takes the reveal to the next level. 3 threads run underneath the entire first half of the movie. First is Chief Brody, the new police chief on Amity Island, a small beach town, a summer economy. And Brody, the man whose entire job is to protect this stretch of coastline, is afraid of the water. He doesn't swim. He won't go near it. Spielberg plants this early and never lets you forget it. The second is Mayor Vaughn. Vaughn represents everything Brody is fighting against. The town's livelihood depends on the beaches staying open. So when the first body washes up, Vaughn's instinct isn't to close the water, it's to reframe it. Brody knows what's out there. He's been told. He's seen the body. He is overruled by a man who needs the beach open more than he needs a child to live. This is Spielberg's could versus should. Vaughn isn't a villain. He's a man choosing the wrong answer to a clear question. The third is Quint and Hooper. Quint is the old world hunter. He kills sharks for a living, reads the ocean like scripture. Hooper is the new world scientist, marine biology, lab coats, sonar. For most of the first half, these two are in opposition, the old way and the new way. They don't trust each other. Eventually, all 3 men, Brody, Quint, Hooper, get on a boat together to go kill the thing. And that boat, the Orca, is where this scene takes place. Now, here's what most people miss. The shark reveal happens almost exactly at the structural midpoint of the film, and it's no accident. Spielberg has split the movie into 2 distinct halves. First half is the town, the arguing, the denial, the political horror of a community that won't act. The second half is the boat, the hunt, 3 men against a thing they cannot see. The reveal is the hinge between them. Everything before this scene is people fighting people. Everything after it is people fighting the shark. And the genius of putting the reveal exactly here, at the doorway between those 2 halves, is that Spielberg has spent 81 minutes earning your fear without ever giving you the monster. So, how do you keep an audience scared of something they have not seen? This is what Spielberg figured out, and it is the thing every horror filmmaker has been trying to copy ever since. He goes to Hitchcock. The principle is simple. The thing you do not see is scarier than the thing you do. A door creaking open, a shadow at the bottom of the stairs. Your imagination fills the gap with something worse than any prop could ever be. So Spielberg attacks the audience sideways. The opening of the film is a swimmer at night, a young woman on the beach. She enters the water, swims out, and then something pulls her under. Spielberg shoots the entire sequence from underneath the water, looking up at her legs kicking on the surface. We never see what is dragging her down. The shark is the camera. The shark is us. We are the predator in the opening shot, and that does something to your relationship with the threat for the rest of the film. You are not just afraid of it. You have been it. The dock scene. 2 men set bait. The dock gets ripped out and dragged into the open water. The shark is whatever is doing the dragging. We never see it. Yellow barrels skim across the surface. That is the shark. A line of bubbles. That is the shark. A child's raft suddenly empty. That is the shark. And underneath all of it, those 2 notes from John Williams. When Williams first played the motif for Spielberg, he played it on a piano. Just E, F, E, F, 2 notes. Spielberg laughed. He thought Williams was joking. 2 notes? That's the score? But those 2 notes do something the shark could never do. They put the predator inside the audience's head. Spielberg uses the cue every single time the shark is near. Every attack. Every approach. By the 40-minute mark, your nervous system has been trained like Pavlov's dog. The 2 notes mean death is coming. You are not just waiting for the shark. You are waiting for the music. Now, we arrive at the boat. Brody, the man who was afraid of the water, is now stuck on a 50-foot fishing vessel in the open Atlantic. Quint and Hooper are below deck, arguing, drinking, comparing scars. Quint has given Brody the worst job on the boat. Chum duty. Chum is fish blood and ground guts thrown into the water to draw the shark in. Brody is using a metal scoop to fling buckets of it off the stern into the wake. He is bored. He is annoyed. He is muttering to himself. The boat is rocking gently. The sound design is small, water lapping, the engine ticking over, the scoop scraping the bucket. You can almost feel the boredom in the room. There has been no shark for 15 minutes of screen time. The audience has settled. The characters have settled. The film itself has settled. Spielberg is using the boat as a dimming switch on the tension. He is turning the volume down on you so that what comes next can be louder. This is critical. Spielberg has set the temperature to low. There is no music. The two-note motif is gone. Completely gone. Your nervous system, conditioned for an hour to expect those notes before any danger, is being told there is no danger here. Brody's back is to the water. The camera is on his face, slightly off to the side in a long static lens. He shovels another scoop. He is annoyed. And then, without any cue, without any music, without any cut, the surface behind him breaks. Shark is staged so casually it is almost rude. Bruce just glides up, head out of the water, mouth open, enormous. No music sting, no cut, no close-up of teeth, no insert of Brody's eyes widening. The camera does not even reframe. It holds. The shark passes through the background of the same shot Brody has been chumming in. Notice the timing. The shark surfaces while Brody is still looking down at the bucket. For a full second, the audience can see Bruce. Brody cannot. This is pure Hitchcock. The suspense lives in that micro gap. No, he doesn't. We are screaming inside the theater while he is still annoyed about the chum. This is the part most people miss. Spielberg does not show you the shark. He shows you a man who has just seen the shark. You catch it in your peripheral vision the same way Brody does. And because Spielberg has trained you for an hour to expect the music before the threat, the silence is what makes the moment land. Your nervous system can't process the asymmetry. The thing you have been waiting for has arrived without permission. And it is worth pausing on what that silence is actually doing here. A standard horror reveal in any other film goes like this. Cut. Music sting. Close-up of the threat. Close-up of the victim's terror. Scream. Here you get none of it. No cut. No music sting. No close-up of the threat. No close-up of the victim's terror. No scream. Every single beat of the standard horror grammar is missing. And because Spielberg has spent 81 minutes training you to expect those beats, your brain is forced to supply them itself. You are screaming the music inside your own head. Fear is no longer coming from the screen. It is coming from you. And then comes the most famous shot in the movie. A slow, smooth dolly in on Brody's face. He doesn't blink. He doesn't shout. He doesn't even react in any conventional way. The push-in tightens until we are inches from his eyes. A push-in like this is the camera telling you, this is the moment. The world has just changed for this man. And it has. Brody is the man who didn't want to be on this boat. The man who can't swim. The man who has spent an hour begging the mayor to close the beaches. Every fear he has ever had has just surfaced behind him in physical form. The shot itself is unusual for its time. A dolly in this slow, this smooth in 1975 was rare. Most directors would have cut to a close-up to save the time. Spielberg goes for the mechanical move because it forces the audience to feel the world tightening around Brody in real time. You don't cut to the realization, you move into it. The camera is acting like a thought, and Roy Scheider's performance in this single shot is its own quiet masterclass. He doesn't gasp, he doesn't gape, he doesn't shake. His face barely moves. What he does is empty. The man behind the eyes recedes for half a second. That is what real terror actually looks like. Not exaggeration, but withdrawal. Most actors would oversell this moment. Scheider undersells it, and that is the reason this single frame still works 50 years later. He gets up slowly. The shovel is still in his hand. He doesn't run. He walks. He almost shuffles backwards through the cabin doorway into where Quint is steering, and without taking his eyes off the water, he says one of the most quoted lines in cinema history. Roy Scheider improvised that line on the day. It wasn't in the script. The crew had been muttering it for months as a joke about the production. Every time a problem came up, somebody would say, "We're gonna need a bigger boat." Scheider grabs it in the moment, throws it into the take, and Spielberg keeps it. Notice what the line does. It is funny. It deflates the moment. After 81 minutes of dread and a 3-second reveal that should have you climbing the walls, Spielberg lets out a tiny pressure valve of comedy. And that is the trick. The laugh seals the fear in. You leave the room with the joke. The joke carries the shark out of the theater with you.
Fishing, it just got a couple of stripers. We'll bring them in for dinner. We won't.
And then Spielberg does one more thing. He cuts to Quint at the wheel, completely oblivious. Quint is the expert, the hunter, the man who has been telling Brody and Hooper what's what for the entire second act. Quint hasn't seen the shark. Brody has. Dramatic irony lands like a punch. The man who fears the water is the one who knows. The man who hunts the water is the one who doesn't. That single cut tells you the rest of the movie. Quint's expertise is no longer enough. Brody, the amateur, the outsider, is the one who is going to have to step up. Spielberg does not need a wide shot of the shark to tell you any of this. He needs a man's face, a doorway, an oblivious captain, and one improvised line. So let's pull back. The reveal works because of what surrounds it. 81 minutes of withheld monster. A two-note motif that has trained the audience like Pavlov's dog. A protagonist whose deepest fear is the thing about to surface. A structural midpoint that uses the reveal as the hinge between two halves of a film. And inside the scene itself, every choice subverts the expected horror grammar. No music when there should be music. A casual reveal where there should be a sting. A static frame where there should be a push-in on the threat. A push-in on the wrong subject. The witness, not the monster. A comic line where there should be a scream. Spielberg breaks every expectation he has spent the first half setting up, and the inversion is what makes it land. This is also why the rest of the film holds together with so little shark on screen. Across the entire 2-hour runtime, Bruce gets 4 minutes. The shark is barely in his own movie, but you do not feel that. You feel like he is in every frame, because Spielberg has shifted the threat from the prop to the audience's imagination, and the imagination is louder than any animatronic could ever be. Spielberg has directed a lot of great films. Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan, E.T. But the case can be made that this one scene, a guy with his back turned, a shark that surfaces silently, a line that wasn't even in the script, is the single moment that taught Hollywood how to scare an audience for the next 50 years. The shark is on screen for 4 minutes total across a 2-hour movie. 4 minutes. And those 4 minutes built an entire genre.